searched the internet everywhere for a cute, realistic looking candy cane made out of blanket yarn and couldn't find one. I came up with one myself, and today I'm sharing that tutorial for you right here on YouTube. Now, I've seen all different types of candy cane patterns. This one where you crochet like spirals and twist them together. I've seen like pillow ones like this one where you do, you know, rounds. But I haven't seen one that looks like spirally. So the other day I was watching TV and I just grabbed some yarn and started to play around with it and to see if I could come up with a realistic looking candy cane pattern with blanket yarn. Let me show you what I came up with. I happen to be using sparkle white yarn and then red Bernat Blanket yarn. So today I'm going to be showing you how I made these Bernat Blanket candy canes. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this candy cane out of Bernat Blanket yarn. The thing that makes this tutorial a little bit different than some of the other candy cane tutorials out there is the stripes are at a diagonal, but the candy cane is just a tube. So bear with me on this tutorial because it's kind of repetitive, but there's just a minor tweak to each row that you're going to do to give the diagonal effect. So let's first go over what you're going to need for this tutorial. I am using Bernat Blanket sparkle white yarn. I don't know if you can tell it's sparkly. And then red yarn. I like to use a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. This one's by Clover. Scissors, candy cane for inspiration. Just kidding, you don't need that. And then a needle, and then a small amount of polyfill. All right, to get started on this project, what you're gonna wanna do is make a magic ring and put in 7 single crochets into the magic ring. I like to wrap the yarn around my 3 fingers, cross it over, turn it, go under the first piece of yarn, pull under, twist, and go under that one, pull through. That's how I make my magic ring. And then I like to untwist it, isolate the yarn or the piece of yarn that's gonna close the ring, and then flip it over. That's how I do mine. And then you have 3 strands right here. If you pull on this strand, this is gonna be the one that closes your ring. So you wanna make sure that's nice and not too tight, so you're gonna be able to pull your ring closed. And then this is how I hold mine to make my ring. Everybody is different. It takes some time to get the magic ring, but you can do it. And then put in 7 single crochets. I don't make these super tight. And then I always like to kind of straighten that pulling yarn as I'm doing the magic ring. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So before you pull your magic ring closed, make sure everything is kind of just straight. And then you're going to grab this little yarn right here and you're going to pull it. Don't pull it too tight yet, because you want to get your first round of single crochets in there, or for your round 2. What I like to do is, I really don't use stitch markers, but I use a piece of yarn and I just mark my row right there. And now what you're going to do is put in 7 single crochets into the next round. So, and we're going to stay with the white. So put in 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now there's really, you can make this candy cane as big as you want, and you would just need to follow kind of the same pattern that I'm going to tell you right now. So go ahead and pull your Ring nice and closed tight. Don't pull this too hard or it will break. I just like to pull it enough to get it nice and snug. And then I'm gonna go ahead and clip this off because it'll get in the way. So the idea here is I'm not gonna go round by round and say, okay, round one, we're doing this and this. I'm gonna just explain how I got this effect, and then you can adjust this and make your candy cane as thick and wide as you want. But essentially what you're gonna be doing is doing 2 stitches of red followed by 5 stitches of white as you make your way up. And I'm going to show you the first couple rows and how I do it, and then you'll start to see the pattern come to life. So here's what we're going to do. Go ahead and take this and you're going to put in 5 single crochets of white. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now before you finish this stitch, we're going to go ahead and change to red. And go ahead and grab the end of that red yarn, put it over your hook, and then pull it through. And now you're going to put in 2 red single crochets. So 1, 2. Now, before you finish this single crochet, go ahead and change back to white. Okay. Now we're going to put in 4 single crochets of white. 2, 3, 4. And we're stopping right before the 2, and we're going to change back to red. And now we're going to put in 2 red single crochets. So you're always going to want to do the stitch right before the red. So we're going to do 2 red single crochets. 1. Stop here, change back to white. Okay, so now we're going to put in 4 white single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop here, and we're going to put in 2 reds right here, and right here. So change back to red and put in 2 reds. 1, 2. Now change back to white. And now we're going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop right here, change back to red. So you're always starting the stitch right before the red and changing to red. And then we're going to go 1, 2, change back to white. And you just keep working that pattern. And just pull this tight, hold on. So see how it's starting to do the diagonal? By simply starting the white at the next stitch right before it. Why is that one? I want to pull that tighter. So if you have a stitch that's kind of like, that's not tight enough, just go in here and pull that a little bit tighter. All right, and you don't need to mark the stitch. So you don't really need to mark your rows because you're just going to keep going until you have a 12-inch kind of candy cane rod. And that's really the pattern. So 2 reds followed by whites until the next one. So here we go, whites, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to change to red, and you kind of got to keep your yarn out of the way. So see how there's red right here, white right here? We're changing to red right before and putting in the 2. 1, 2. Now change back to white. And now single crochet until we get to that stitch right before the red starts, right here, and change back to red. And then we're gonna keep going around and around, 2 reds followed by whites. Now we're stopping right before that red stitch, so this one's going to be red. I'm putting in 2 reds, changing back to white. So before you get too far, you're going to want to stuff as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff. I like to have a little bit of stuffing in my candy cane, so it doesn't really require much, but I just like to use the end of the crochet hook and stuff a little bit of stuffing down into the tube. And don't stuff it too much because it will poke out. So just don't overstuff. Need to get some stuffing down into the bottom there. And see how it's creating that diagonal effect. You could start your red further down here, but I just didn't because that's just how I did it. Anyway, okay, I think that's stuffed good enough. Have one more little piece. You just don't stuff it too much because I don't know if one of these, I think it's good. Okay, the whole premise is you're going to be doing 2 reds followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whites. Okay. All right, and then we're at the white right before, so we're gonna change to red and put in 2 red single crochets. 1, 2. And then we're going to change back to white. And then we're going to do white single crochets till we get to that second to the last white, and we are going to change to red. So it's always the stitch right before the red where you change. So now you do 2 reds, change back to white. So every row you're changing from red to white a couple times. Just remember, always change to white or change to red the white stitch before the red. So we still have 1 more here, and now we're going to change to the red. And then put in your 2 red single crochets before you finish this one. Change back to white, and then single crochet all the way around. Till you get to that second to the last one, and then you're going to change back to red. See, here's the 2 reds. You're going to put 2 reds right here, and right here. So here's 1 red, 2 reds. Change back to white. Go ahead and put in all your whites. And then you're going to change back to red. Again, we're right here. The stitch right before the red. There's just really no other way to write this than just do it this way, because it would just be changing colors so much, and it's just easier for me to just explain it this way than try and write out a pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff at this point a little bit more, because you don't want to get too far along, because there's so many color changes happening in there that it's hard to get the stuffing in. Because I mean, there's just a lot of color changes happening. But once you get the pattern down, where you're just changing colors right before you're changing from white to red, right before the red starts, like, you'll get it, I promise. Like, I think it would be a really difficult pattern to write out, because there'd be so many color changes, and I think it's easier to just kind of explain how it works than to try and write a pattern, honestly. Okay. So I have no idea what row we're on right now, and it doesn't really matter, because this is a 12-inch stick. And then I'm going to show you at the end how to make it curved. So just keep crocheting your stitches, your 2 reds. Your red is you're always gonna change to red right before, into that white stitch right before it. So I'm now at red. Put in 2 red single crochets. Wait, did I go under both? I don't think I did. There we go. There's 1 red, 2 reds, switch back to white. See, we're getting a little tangled here, so just try and keep that untangled, or it's going to get to be really a mess. So change to white, and then we're going to go white all the way around. Until we get to that second, or that last white, change to red. Put in 2 reds. red on top of that other red, change to white. And then white's going to go all the way around again. And change to red right before you get to that last white. Put in your 2 reds. It's very repetitive, but once you can see that you're just changing from red to white, that very last white stitch right there, putting in 2 red stitches. Before we finish this first one or the second one, change back to white, and then single crochet with white around until you get to that last white, and then change to red. I'm going to stop right here and do a little more stuffing. And you can just put the stuffing in as however much you feel like. If you don't want much stuffing and you want it more flexible, you can do that, just until it feels good to you and it's not poking through the sides. As you can see, we're starting to form like a peppermint stick here, and we want about a 12-inch stick. So right now we're at about 9.5, so we still need to get to 12. So just keep up with that pattern of changing to the stitch right before the red and stacking it. So right here we need a red, and then a white. So red goes here, 1, 2 reds, change to white. Put a white on top of this red stitch. Now we're back here at the stitch right before the red. Change to red, add a red stitch here, a red stitch here, change back to white. There's going to be a white one on top of that red one, and then white all the way around. I think I missed a stitch somewhere. good thing is if you mess up, you can just take it out because there's not any particular row. So where did I mess up? It looks like it got smaller right here. So I think I missed a stitch. All right, we're gonna stop and do a little more stuffing here. Okay, we're almost to 12 inches. So we're gonna crochet a couple more rounds and then we'll be at our length. Again, the pattern is 2 reds, followed by whites. Always change to red at the stitch right next to this one. This last white stitch right here needs to be red. And you'll put in your 2 reds. 1, 2, change back to white. Red, 1 red, 2 reds, change back to white. All right, we should be at right about at 12 inches, I think. Yes. Okay, so now we can go ahead and cut off the red yarn. And what I like to do is just make sure that's all nice and tight. And then stuff that inside with the stuffing. It's not gonna go anywhere because this is a very small tube. And you're just gonna put stuffing in over it. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put the last little bit of stuffing in here. All right, I think that's good. I feel like I need a little more stuffing down here. It's a little trick. If you feel like you need some more stuffing, just use one of your stitches and then close it back up. There we go. No one's gonna know. Unless you watch this video. Okay, So now let's go ahead and fasten this off. I usually will add just a couple more white stitches at the top. It doesn't really matter if your candy canes got extra stitches, it doesn't matter, a little longer, but I like it to be just white up at the top. So get around those and then fasten off. And leave kind of a long tail. I'd say a good 1.5 feet. And then make sure that top of your candy cane is stuffed. And then we're ready to close this up. And how you do that is you're just gonna go into the front loops of each of the stitches. And cinch it closed like that. And then just tie a knot. Okay, so this is what you should have right now, is a long peppermint stick. My stick is roughly 12 inches. You should have a tube that looks like this, and then a long piece of yarn with a needle on it. Now, what we're gonna do is we're going to be creating this arch for the candy cane. And you can kind of get an idea of what it's gonna look like, how big your candy cane is gonna be. Again, this is not like, there's not any rhyme or reason as to you can make these bigger or smaller. But the idea is you're gonna take your yarn needle and you're gonna feed it down one side of the candy cane to about right here. And how you're gonna do this is you're gonna go in and out of the candy cane, like that. So you're gonna go in, out, pull it through. In, out, pull it through. In, out, and just like alternating stitches down the side, the inside of your candy cane, like right here. So in, out, like that. You're just going to be creating a line going in and out of your. Now what's going to happen is when you pull this, it's going to start forming your arch, okay? And you're going to see that that's not far enough, so you need to keep going. So add more in and out. And then gently pull your candy cane. Pull that thread. See, we're getting close. I want a little bit more of an arch, so I'm going to go a couple more stitches. In, out. Pull down. I think I'm going to go one more time. And I think I like that. See, that's going to be too far for me, but if you like your candy canes nice and arched like that, you can do that. But for me, I think I like that look right there. Okay, so once you have your candy cane arch the way that you like it, you're going to want to hold your yarn right here and then tie off right there and really secure that like that. And now you have your candy cane arch. And I just like to tie it a couple times to make sure that it's nice and secure. again, there's not like any rhyme or reason to this. Like you can see, these are not exactly the same size, but that's okay. And then if it ever gets, like if you messed up and it's not the way you like it, it's okay. You can just go back and add another piece of yarn and do it again until it gets to where you like it. So I like that. Looks good. All right. So now that when you pull the thread, like it's locked in place, so you can't move it. So it's okay to just tie it off one more time. And then go ahead and hide the yarn inside. And snip it off. And there's the candy cane. So I wanted to show you real quick, if you make your magic ring bigger to start off with, like this is a magic ring of 10. Okay, so if you wanted to make a bigger jumbo size candy cane, you can do that by just still following the same pattern of putting in 2 red single crochets like I showed you in the video. Let me just show you. I'm gonna put some stuffing in here so you can see. This would be a jumbo candy cane. So you'd want to make this one longer than 12 inches. But you can see the difference of how big the candy cane is going to be, but you still get the spiral effect. I'm going to go ahead and make that. So So here is a candy cane that I did with 10 single crochets and then just doing the 2 reds, the same pattern, the same format as these smaller ones, but to give you an idea of size difference and what it looks like, I wanted to make one with 10 single crochet. So you could do the bigger you start off with, oh whoops, gotta pull that out. The bigger you start off with, if you did a really big one, then you could probably do 3 reds if you went really big, but I still think the 10 single crochet looks pretty cute too. Both are really cute. I think I kind of like this one, the bigger one. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed and you were able to create a blanket yarn candy cane like this. If you have any questions at all, please just drop them in the comments. I know this wasn't a typical like tutorial where you get the exact instructions on the screen. Thanks so much for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.